Welcome, welcome everyone. Anita, good to see you. Hi, Brian.
And thanks for those who have their videos on. Always nice to see all your smiling faces.
Yep. And Megan, congrats on Together Center.
Thanks. They are a remarkable group over there.
Yeah. Big things happening in East King County, and I know there's been a lot of coalition work that's bearing fruit. Hi, Bill. Welcome. Welcome, Anne. Hi, Sergio. Hello, Angel. I know there was a big transition over at WCRA.
Yeah, there was a lot of change at the top.
Yeah. Hi, Sai.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Looks like Bambi is here as well. The whole team is here. And Ben, hi, Ben.
Hey, good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Hi, Amanda. Beth, I've only been seeing you on videos lately. Welcome. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Alex. And Anita, it looks like you're now on video. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And long time Richard, no see. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hello. Scott is joining us. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Daryl. Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
Hello. And Lauren, it looks like you are showing up as Michael, but I certainly know that face. Hello.
Apparently my partner was using my my computer.
Yeah. That's how that goes. Hi, Emily. Emily Wheeler. Good to see you. Hi, Ranny. Man, the Hollywood squares continue to build. Grace, I won't be able to say hello to the whole community, but I think we'll hand over the reins to you to get us kicked off here.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the September 21st HDC quarterly member meeting. My name is Grace Kim. I have the privilege of serving as the HDC board vice president. And while Kate is away, I will be convening today's meeting. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, BECU and Compass Construction. Your unwavering support enables us to host events like this, and we are genuinely thankful for your dedication to our mission. So without further ado, let's go into our agenda, that is being shared with you. Let's see on the screen. This meeting is of significant importance as we have several crucial topics to cover today. This brief agenda notes those, so we'll have some voting instructions, and I'm going to show those. I'll share those now. We'll start by outlining the voting instructions, ensuring that our proceedings are conducted smoothly and in accordance with the bylaws. There will be introductions for new member candidates. Our strength as an organization lies in our membership, and today we have the privilege of introducing and welcoming some new organizations to our HDC community. There will be some announcements, and you'll get an update on the member services programs that HDC is conducting, as well as some other upcoming events. We want to make sure that you are informed and that you have a chance to engage with other members and with HDC. We will have a Yes for Homes update. So we'll get an update on the Seattle housing levy, a key element of our ongoing efforts in advocacy. And then 2024 Advocacy Agenda discussion. So this is going to be the highlight of our meeting. The greatest portion of time will be dedicated to this. And then at the end, we'll have a chance to vote on our June minutes, the member slate, and the advocacy agenda. The voting will happen at the end. I'll say this again later. We'll give you a link to do that. But if you have to leave early, please remember, here it is. Thank you. Grab that QR code so that you have it in your phone or whatever format is readily available, so that if you have to leave the meeting before we get to the voting portion, that you have that ready to go, so that you can fulfill that obligation and make sure that we get to quorum in terms of our voting. Okay, so I think I've covered all those. I shouldn't have gotten off script, but I'm gonna let's see, start with the first action item. Okay, so action items, is this right? Am I on track? Yes. The first action item that's going to be requiring some voting, we'll vote at the end, like I said, and the link was provided. But everybody that's here today should vote. In the packet that was sent out, there were some the June 2023 quarterly member meeting minutes. That is in your packet. If you don't have that link to the packet, please make yourself known, and that will get sent to you or sent out as a link. And then going on to the new member candidates, we are going to welcome and introduce a few new members, and I think we have some members of those organizations here to share a little bit about themselves. So I'll read them all out in the order, and then if folks can, and I'll call on individual folks. So we've got Full Life Care, MZA, and then Swinnerton. And do we have Cricket Carr here from Full Life Care to do a brief introduction?
Cricket Far, yeah. I'm here.
Great.
Hi.
Well-
Did you want me to read it or?
I think.
Cricket, you can just speak from the heart and say a few words of introduction. Yeah, don't worry about reading it.
Reading it, okay. So I'm Cricket Farr. I'm the clinical director at Full Life Care, and we are a small but mighty nonprofit in the Seattle area, but we work in actually both King County and in Snohomish County to provide social services to adults of all ages with chronic illnesses and who experience physical and developmental disabilities. We work with people regardless of their income, and we provide a variety of services, both in our facilities, including adult day health, which is how we began our agency in 1980, and in their homes, which are how my staff that I oversee provide the majority, in fact, all of their services. We are an affiliate of Transforming Age, which is a network of not-for-profit services, and we concentrate, although not exclusively, on working with older adults. I was pleased to find out from Lauren that it turns out that Full Life Care actually had previously been a member of the Housing Development Consortium, and so I am very happy to renew that. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cricket. And if it's okay with the others, I'm just going to let you all read on the screen and just have Frank jump in and do an introduction of himself, and you can read off that or not, just to share a couple words about yourself and the organization. Frank.
Hello, this is Frank Lowe from MZA. We are an architect design firm in Bellevue, Washington. We are about 15 staff here in our office. Our focus is in multifamily housing, in design and planning. So we're working with a lot of different, not just developers, but also in affordable housing developers like Lehigh and other developers to really further the mission of housing, providing housing, designing better quality housings throughout the region. So we are about 8 years now that we form our companies, and we've been working, our core members been working together for way longer, and we are really excited to be part of the Housing Development Consortium. Thank you so much for inviting us to be part of this organization.
Great, thank you, Frank. And then finally, we have Swinnerton, and I think we have Patrick Ottolini. I think I didn't say that very well. To share a little bit about Swinnerton.
Actually, my name's Chris Meremy. I'm joining today. I'm a senior project manager with Swinnerton Builders in Seattle. And speaking on behalf of my coworkers, we really appreciate you all considering us for membership. We want to do more to advocate for low income housing construction in King County. It's more important than ever. A little background about us. We're a national general contractor. We are 100% employee owned. So anytime you come to a Swinnerton job site, anyone from a superintendent to a craft laborer, the Swinnerton employees are the company owners. We nationwide, we're really heavily involved in the construction of affordable housing. To give you an idea of the, I guess, magnitude, over the past 5 years, we've completed $850 million worth of affordable housing units, and we're currently have $1 billion in affordable housing under construction. I wish I had those figures for you guys in terms of housing units, because that's what's really important to us. And I'm calling from our Heartwood job site in Capitol Hill, where we're building 126 units of affordable housing for community roots housing. And my coworkers and I come in every day, very passionate about building this project. We're proud to be building affordable homes, and we'd like to become members to help foster and help in that pursuit.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris, and thanks for being here today to share a little bit about Swinnerton. So one of the action items will be for us to be voting in those new members. So make note of that. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Patience to give us an update on member services and programs and upcoming events.
Thank you, Grace, and welcome to all the new members. I think we can all feel the passion and commitment that you come with to the affordable housing work, and we're looking forward to the deeper collaboration that will follow within HDC. There's been a lot of great things happening at HDC this year. We will spend more time in December just unpacking the accomplishments and celebrating those in person. But first, we want to give some critical updates on what we have coming up as it relates to nominations, both for the board and award. But before I get to that, I do want to take a moment. Today, we are celebrating a key team member at HDC, Ilan, who has been with us, Ilan Robinson. They have been with us since last year as our communications manager. And they've been an integral part of our team, brought so much intentionality and creativity to our work. I'm sure you've seen our communications and just the outstanding graphic design and messaging that has come from within HDC. And all of that is truly attributed to the contributions that they've brought over the year. But sadly, today we get to say goodbye as they move on to the next chapter. But we're really excited for their next chapter. They're going back to school, and we believe we'll be crossing paths in not too far from today. They're a person of very short words, and they will be missed. And I will not attempt to invite them to say a few words. I will say on their behalf, for the care that they've given all of you as HDC, both for the team as well as the association. They've expressed deep gratitude for that partnership. So Ilan, you will be missed, and we're grateful for all you've contributed. With that, we do have an open nomination for the board of directors. We're aiming to bring 1 to 2 board members going into 2024. Applications are open. You can self-nominate or nominate a colleague. We're coming up on the deadline here on September 29th. So really get on in putting that nomination forward if interested in being a part of our leadership and work. I will say that our board of directors have truly been outstanding partners in driving our work, and this is a critical place for you in contributing to HDC. The next nominations that we have are award nominations. These are awards that we will be giving at the annual member meeting in December. Some of you may recall just the story sharing that we got at the December meeting last year, the warmth that it comes with for our community from folks on the front lines doing outstanding work with residents. So we have the Frontline Staff Award that recognizes outstanding individuals in the resident, property management and case management sector. That nomination is open and announced so far. We also have a second award that we've not given in the past years, but we're bringing back this year, particularly recognizing just how much people have stepped up in our sector on affordable housing. So this is the Emerging Leader Award that recognizes newer individuals in the sector who've made significant contributions. And we're looking forward to getting your nominations in sooner rather than later. But with that, I want to pivot over to the programs that we have internally that have really been gaining so much momentum in building the pipeline of leadership in the sector, in cultivating support that has seen so many folks graduate through those leadership development programs here at HDC. And Lauren has been at the helm of scaling that, working with Danny and team in really getting us to a place where we are today in 2023. So Lauren, without further ado, I'll hand over to you to talk about the program.
Great, thanks, Patience. I have a couple of updates on a few of our programs. So we have first the Leadership Development Survey Course, which is HDC's in-house leadership program. The program runs for 6 months from January through June. So it'll kick off January 2024. And we're going to be opening applications for that shortly. And I don't have a date for you, but I think it'll be end of September, early October. We're going to be looking at a mix of in-person and virtual for these weekly meetings. We're also working on finalizing a schedule for that. So folks who are interested in applying can have dates to check on their calendar and make sure that it feels appropriate. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about LDSC, please reach out to myself or Danny Turk on our team that oversees the program. Happy to have a virtual coffee or whatever that looks like and just talk about what the program looks like and if it's appropriate for you. Next is just an update. So we have our housing development internship program. We're coming into our 5th year and are about to kick off a new program year. We're placing 12 interns this year, which is great. And we've expanded our tracks to include architecture and construction in addition to housing development. So thank you all host agencies who have really stepped up, who are hosting interns, who are saying yes to the goals of the program, yes to diversifying the sector. We are also working on a couple of informational videos that will be coming out shortly that I think will really highlight the goals and the great work the program does. So keep an eye out for those as well. On the events side, we have a lot of great things coming up. So I encourage you to check out our event calendar. We've got some candidate forums on the east side, some phone banking opportunities for the Seattle Housing Levy that we'll hear more about in a few minutes. We also have an event coming up on November 2nd, an afternoon with Richard and Leah Rothstein. So many of you are probably familiar with the book, The Color of Law. This is a follow-up book. They'll be here discussing that again, Thursday, November 2nd from 2 to 4 at Seattle University. Paige has put in the link to register in the chat. There's also a link to purchase the book. And if you purchase through the Elliott Bay link, you can get 10% off the purchase if you use the promo code HDC. Special thanks to all of our partners and sponsors for making this event possible. I think it's been really great. And the last thing that I want to highlight is just to save the date. So we're hoping to be back in person for our annual member meeting that is scheduled for December 6th, 4:30 to 6 p.m. The venue is TBD, but we'll be getting that information out to folks shortly. For those of you who may have joined in the last couple of years and have never been to an in-person annual member meeting, it is primarily an opportunity to network and close out the year and celebrate the year together. It's very light in business, but really an opportunity to get together and celebrate. So we hope to see you there. More information coming on that shortly. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Lauren. We really look forward to seeing you in person, celebrating at the end of the year. I would say that the annual member meeting has always been my favorite meeting of all meetings that we have each year, because we just get to celebrate each other in the holiday spirit. With that, we want to pivot over to a guest speaker on the Yes for Homes campaign. All of you know, many of you know that the Seattle Housing Levy has been a top priority for HDC dating back decades. And we began the work last year in shaping the proposal, getting it over the finish line from council. And now the real work is in front of us to really get it over the finish line in November. And we have been incredibly lucky to have the partnership in Christian Cinnamon as the consultant for the Yes for Homes campaign, really getting us off the ground and leading the way up to where we are today. So with that, Christian, I will hand the reins over to you.
Great. Well, thank you. And my apologies to everyone. I lost my voice last night, and so I'm kind of squeaky, but I'll do my best here to give a quick update. Well, first, I want to thank Patience and obviously all of you for the incredible leadership of the HDC in both the construction of the levy and helping guide the campaign. It's really been, a remarkable partnership, not just for this effort, but stretching back, as Patience noted, over the last several levies. This is personally my fourth Seattle Housing Levy campaign. Each one has its own challenges, its own opportunities, but it's been really awesome to once again work with all of you on this important work. Obviously the big difference with this levy is the size, the scope, the scale, and really trying to meet the moment of where we are with affordable housing and the urgency to take advantage of the opportunities we have to make a lasting impact in this area. The workforce stabilization investments are particularly transformative, I think, in this package, and one that will help build longer-term partnerships and obviously help thousands and thousands of additional people, secure shelter and remain in a pathway to permanent shelter and housing. The campaign so far is coming on really, really well. We have, the huge number of endorsements, and I would say more engaged endorsements in many respects than we have in the past. Fundraising, we're on target to meet kind of our initial goals of somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000, probably closer to the $500,000 mark, but we'll get above, and that'll allow us to communicate with voters. There's a little bit of a playbook in terms of voter contact and communication in these campaigns of reaching out to people at the beginning, around time ballots drop, targeting more persuadable or soft supporting voters kind of in the middle, and then really layering on the endorsements and showing the broad-based community support towards the end. So we'll be putting together both a combination of digital advertising, mailers. If we are able to raise more money, we'll look at some last minute cable TV or something that's a little bit more energetic, I guess. But our videos will feature testimonials from impacted families and individuals, as well as caregivers and people in the community, to really underscore the human side of this. We have a strong message too, with a track record of success of past levies and overperforming or meeting targets and exceeding targets. So we've got a lot to talk about, but that's a good problem to have. Really, it's just been a wonderful process so far, and we've got great engagement from mayor, city council, partners in business and organized labor, and of course all under the broad umbrella of HDC and all the great work that you do. I'll stop talking because, one, I can't talk, and second, because there might be some additional questions or patience if there's other elements we should cover.
No, Christian, I think you covered it really well, and that voice made it through. Thank you for the update. I will just highlight something that the mayor elevated at a recent endorsement interview with the Seattle Times, that this is a levy where we have the labor community, affordable housing advocates, business community, across the board, all organizations united unanimously in support of this levy. So truly unique, and thanks to all of you and all of the work that you've been contributing, and Christian for your leadership and partnership. Any questions or comments that folks want to share here? I know we have a good number of the steering committee members on this call. If you want to add any information that we missed in updating the HDC community. Great. I don't see any hands.
Right.
With that, thank you, Christian, for joining us.
Yeah, and I would just say, if he hasn't already, I know Chad's been getting people to sign up to do phone banking and text banking and door knocking and all the things. And thank you in advance for all your help and support with that. And it really is a full team effort here as we close out the last 6 weeks and have a successful election victory. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
And Grace, over back to you.
Thanks. Thank you, Christian. We have reached the point in our meeting, the highlight of our meeting, and that's to discuss and approve our 2024 advocacy agenda. This agenda is the cornerstone of our advocacy efforts for affordable housing in the upcoming year. And I want you to know that this has been talked about and reviewed and provided input by many stakeholders and members over the last few months. And this is the point in time in which we're bringing it to the membership so that we can get your input. And that input is very invaluable to the overall process. So at this point, I'll turn it back over to Patience actually to kick off this important section. She's going to give some insights in terms of framing and setting the stage for the agenda. And then also she's going to introduce our individual speakers. So back over to you, Patience.
Thank you, Grace. And I'll really keep it short because this is the star of the show. And Jesse is here to kick us off with the lead agenda itself. But I will say this, in the state of Washington, we must urgently work towards creating more than 1 million homes over the next 2 decades. And a significant number of the 1 million homes, about 309,000 of those must be in King County. And the affordability levels are higher in terms of lower income households that need support. And that's why all of you are here. And in terms of our advocacy agenda itself, it really works towards a multifaceted approach where we're looking at dramatically increasing resources for affordable housing across the region, where we're looking at reforming land use and zoning across the region with a big opportunity coming up in 2024. We're also looking at ways we can improve the stability for folks in housing and the sustainability of housing. And in terms of the sustainability front, I want to put a fine point that it is crucial for us to understand the profound interconnectedness of the affordable housing crisis with climate change. And we have been working over the years as an organization to right-size strategies around addressing that challenge, bringing tools to the sector and doing extensive work. And there'll be speakers that will highlight some of the work on that front and some of the opportunities that we see in 2024. And I will close with this. With 2024 being a year where we have jurisdictions that are really at the crossroads in making their comprehensive plan decisions, HDC has been leaning in on this work. We have a coalition that's strong on the ground to make sure that the policy decisions around land use and zoning will really be ones that are taking advantage of this once in a generation opportunity. So without further ado, more on all of that and the opportunity to chart a path next year from Jesse Simpson on our team, who has been working with the policy advisory group in shaping this agenda and defining some of the critical opportunities. And Jesse will introduce speakers that he will be bringing alongside with him. So Jesse, over to you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Patience. I'm going to take a quick step back in terms of just explaining the process around the policy advisory group and advocacy agenda adoption to date. We started off this process in early summer, June, through a series of roundtables at the policy advisory group to get member input on what additional policies they want to see reflected in our advocacy agenda as we updated and moved past 2023. I think we have set ourselves up for an extremely successful 2023, but we also know that the work in front of us to actually achieve affordable, safe housing for everyone in our community is immense. Similar to last year, there's 3 buckets here, which Patience explained, centered around funding, building and maintaining inclusive communities, the land use reform bucket, and improving the health, stability, and sustainability of housing. We've reviewed after PAG and other member input through the summer. We had our Policy Priorities Summit in August, brought that forward to members, a lot of opportunity to weigh in through breakouts as to what we were missing or needed to add and tweak, and then iteratively brought that back through PAG and then the HDC board. Why don't you go to the next slide here? So building on the work from last year, the first priority bucket is around funding affordable homes. We are once again running our expanded real estate excise tax for affordable housing bill at the state level. The Affordable Homes Act remains to be seen exactly how that will be structured, but we know it's really the best opportunity we have to raise significant amounts of revenue at the state level. Reflecting the increased importance of the Housing Trust Fund in terms of just scale, size, and how much staff time has been dedicated that. We've moved that up to the lead agenda from the support, recognizing that the partnership with the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance is still incredibly essential to getting that Housing Trust Fund funded. Third off, we have a more long-term vision around creating a framework for regional investments in affordable housing, for starting the conversations around what county-wide revenue sources could look like, not aiming for actual policy implementation next year, but starting the conversation. We know that, knocking on wood, housing levy passes will be great, huge expansion in terms of resources available in the city of Seattle, but we know that there aren't local funding sources outside the city. In practical terms, the existing local funding outside the city of Seattle for affordable housing is more or less a rounding error. And that's, not the fault of any of the great work of Arch and Skip to build up and dedicate more funds to affordable housing in suburban jurisdictions, but it's a reflection that there's no dedicated source. And so I think HDC's position to start that conversation. Then fourth, we have, this is maybe presuming a successful November vote, but the Seattle Housing Levy administrative and financial plan will need to be updated to actually put in place the policies governing the disposition of those funds. Then we have, in partnership with the Black Home Initiative, advocacy for state capital investments in affordable home ownership. And I can let Bambi speak about some of the specifics if there's interest. And then finally, we have implementation of the Jumpstart Seattle Spend Plan. This is an item that's come up from the support level because really we've seen that the political reality of Jumpstart funds in the context of a city budget and ongoing general fund shortfalls, so that there needs to be dedicated and focused support to ensure that that original spend plan is actually adhered to, and as much money from that payroll expense tax is going into affordable housing and other community-based community serving needs. I'll roll through the next. Around land use reform, as Patience mentioned, this is 2024 is the year of comprehensive plan updates. It's our big once in a decade opportunity to really change the framework for how we grow, where we're allowing new mid-rise or multifamily housing throughout our cities, where we're allowing missing middle housing types throughout traditionally single family zones, and how as well as in particularly Bellevue, it provides the opportunity to implement new inclusionary zoning alongside these increases to development capacity. And so we've been very engaged in creating coalitions focused on Seattle and Bellevue through the Complete Communities Coalition and the Eastside Affordable Housing Coalition, broad general pro-growth, pro-housing affordability coalitions arguing for making abundant and affordable housing through these comprehensive plan updates. It's also, we are limited staff, so we can't do that same level of work and engagement in every single jurisdiction across King County, but they are all engaging in these comprehensive plan updates. And so through HDC, and engaging in the Affordable Housing Committee to shape those other comprehensive plan updates to be as helpful as possible for affordable housing development and allowing more homes to be built, particularly near transit and in high opportunity areas. Then generally we have regulatory reform and effective departmental coordination to accelerate housing production and reduce cost to build housing. So this can look like, your zoning can say you allow for 6-story apartment buildings to be built in a certain area, but if jurisdictions in practice take 2 years to permit anything and the suite of other zoning restrictions effectively preclude affordable housing development from being feasibly and economically done on those sites, the land use code is still presenting a barrier. And so HDC thinks about how to engage all levels of these local municipal municipal governments in creating a housing first framework, getting the departments to think of affordable housing as one of the top priorities in how they approach their work, and making the suites of regulatory reforms to make that a reality. We've seen quite a bit of success through the city of Seattle this year in terms of eliminating design review for affordable housing. And we're seeking to build on that efforts and keep a laser focus, especially when we're thinking about the non-permitting aspects. Then we have another multi-year campaign kind of aspect, which is education coalition building efforts on a funding framework to acquire land for equitable transit-oriented development, to leverage the light rail, bus rapid transit, other investments that we've made as a public, and really buy up the land around that and use it, dispose of it for community serving needs and for affordable housing. This is kind of the restarting of the housing benefit district push, if you all have followed that. And it's, we're not running a bill in 24, but we are seeking to start up the political engagement and policy shaping process with an eye towards really centering it in the community-based organizations and for the community alliances. And then finally, we have the continued partnership support for the Black Home Initiative. All right, next slide. Final lead bucket is around improving health, stability, sustainability of housing, approaching this from a few different angles. First off, these two pieces are actually quite, have come up through the member engagement as real priority. It's around the operations funding and the need for gap funding to plug the operations gap that many affordable housing providers are seeing in the context of continued elevated rental delinquencies, as well as vastly increased staffing costs and property insurance costs that continue to spike. And I think this is going to lead into a continued education, coalition, and policymaking process around that particular property and capital insurance issue on a longer term basis. And then finally, we have promoting policies to increase the environmental sustainability of housing, most notably through the Seattle Building Emissions Performance Standards, and ensuring that as we are decarbonizing buildings, we're also funding affordable housing to be able to do that, so that we are, so that providers are able to make that transition to heat pumps and to environmental sustainability broadly. All right, now that was a lot of information, tried to cram in. Any questions here, little bits of clarification people would like, so you're looking over the lead advocacy agenda? Yeah, I will definitely agree with Grace on that. The notion of confusion, complexity was one of the biggest barriers we saw with housing benefit districts. And so
Any questions for Jesse on any of those? I know there was a lot, and even though he said that there's committed staff, they are very, very effective with the work that they're doing. There's a lot of advocacy work happening at many levels, state, city, county levels. So there's lots to dig into. Does the silence mean everybody is thinking about lunch or they're glazed over with the amount of information that he just presented? No questions or comments?
I guess I
think
have a
this-
clarification question.
Go ahead.
Yep.
I'm kind of wondering about the bucket that's stability and sustainability. And I guess I understand the goals there around the sustainability and what I think we're trying to do there. Can you talk more about what's the stability part?
Yeah,
I can't really fit that in.
sure. Can you roll back to the last slide? Whoever's controlling this. So on the stability side, we are approaching this from the standpoint of both resident stability as well as stability in terms of the operations perspective. So this bucket, especially on the support side, incorporates a lot of the tenant rights policies that we stand in support of, even if we're not leading that effort. But we also, as HDC, are recognizing the importance of funding and supports to ensure that the providers themselves are able to stably operate housing. Does that make sense?
I think so. So that would be the education piece and the advocacy piece.
Yeah, as well as direct funding and direct funding for operations, like a operations gap pilot funding at the state level, and some and at the city level. Actually, we're now pursuing some a budget proviso to fund operations in the city of Seattle.
Right.
And
Okay.
plus one thing, Grace's point as well about stability, meaning the services to support.
Yeah, I supervise the housing stability and supports group. And so I'm just trying to translate it into what my departments do and what this slide seems to say. And it sounds like we're talking about the same sorts of things, but at first that wasn't clear to me. But it sounds like it is. So I'm glad to know that. Great, thank you.
No. Also some good notes from Stephanie about how we think of stability as HDC. Lisa?
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, that this is also related to sort of the other side of the impact of the tenant protection and housing stability, which often results in the owners and operators of the properties being, sort of stuck with holding the bag on far lower rent collections than we've seen pre-pandemic. And to the extent that we can support housing stability, we also need to be able to keep the lights on, not default on loans, make sure that our properties and our investors are satisfied in order for this to be a sustainable operation going forward. So it's sort of the other side of the coin. We've done a lot of work with the housing stability on the tenant right side of things, but at the end of the day, expecting the housing operators to be able to fund these losses is not sustainable over the long term.
Beth? And then I think we should move over to the support agenda highlights too.
Yeah, I was just, I was wondering where people could find the detail in all these priorities for the actual policy recommendations that you all are working on, or that we all are working on.
Yeah, so you can find a little more explanation in the advocacy agenda itself in the document, which I believe is attached to your packet, in terms of the policy details at like an individual level. That's really something we more create and distribute on a one-off basis as we are in the policy making process and shaping, creating one-pagers to distribute to lawmakers and debating that level of detail. I think at one level our advocacy agenda is probably a little too far on the detailed side if you compare to peer organizations. Like there is a level at which an advocacy agenda is setting out the broad range of items that we focus on throughout the year. There are plenty of things that are incorporated into the funding, building and maintaining inclusive communities, stability, that especially when we are talking about like support agenda items, we are not ourselves driving. And so, I could point you to the like Complete Communities Coalition's policy priorities document that lays out some of our general approaches when it comes to the Seattle Comprehensive Plan update, or the the letters that we've submitted around the Bellevue Comprehensive Plan update. When it comes to the real estate excise tax, there will be like a one-pager developed once we've settled on the exact policy approach as we get a little closer to the legislative session. I think the capital investments in homeownership, similarly, housing trust fund is really just trying to get as much money as possible and telling them that, and a little bit similar with the Jumpstart spend plan.
The other short answer to this is the policy advisory group is a great place for members to continue to engage, and will provide updates through that. And then with the state level advocacy, we will have a group that will be convened weekly, and a lot of the work groups will be feeding into those calls.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this is a good time to segue into the support agenda. Beth, there's both the lead agenda, the things that HDC will be leading on, and then Jesse will share with us now the elements that we will be supporting.
Yeah, and a few just member highlights to give a little flavor on the some items that are in the lead agenda. Brian, you want to go first here around the Affordable Housing Tax Credit Improvement Act?
Sure thing. So I'm going to give a quick update, or I should say outline, of what the Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act does for us and what its status is in Congress. So the AHCIA has been proposed multiple times, multiple years. I think it was first proposed in 2016. It has not yet passed. So we're hoping this is the year. Like every year, we hope this is the year. And we shall see. What is proposed in the current AHCIA are many things, but I'll highlight a few. One, it would increase the amount of credits available to every state. So some of you know that we had a 12.5% increase from 2018 to 2021, but that sunsetted. So this bill would restore that 12.5% increase. And in addition, it would add another 50% to the credit. Those increases would be phased in over 2 years. So that's a real big step. Obviously, given the competitiveness to get credits in this state and almost every other state, it's sorely needed. There just aren't enough credits to meet the need. The other big thing it would do would be to reduce the bond financing threshold on tax exempt and 4% deals. So right now you have to have 50% of your project paid for with tax exempt bonds, if you're combining tax exempt bonds and 4% credits. The bill would change that to 25%. So a lot of states are oversubscribed for tax exempt bonds, and that's the only way you can get 4% credits. And so those states would be able to spread out their tax exempt bonds to more projects if the threshold were lower at 25%. So more projects will get done. So that's a key issue. Some other issues are the basis boost. So every state has some flexibility around boosting the amount of credits that each project gets. This bill would increase that flexibility. It would add the boost flexibility to 4% credit deals. That's not currently available. It would expand the boost to Indian country and rural areas in all states. And it would allow a 50% boost for extremely low income units. So income units serving households at 30% or below. So those would make a lot more projects feasible. It aligns the credit with energy incentives. And lastly, I didn't know this until I researched it for this conversation. It eliminates the QCT cap. So there can only be so many QCTs in the country. I didn't know that. So the bill would eliminate that because there are more QCTs in the country than are allowed to be QCTs in the program. So that would be good for the program, and it would increase the DDA cap, not eliminate it, but increase it. So those are all good things. The bill is sponsored by two of our own. Senator Cantwell is one of the Senate co-sponsors, and Representative Del Bene is one of the House sponsors. The Senate has 28 sponsors currently, and the House has 170. So it's very well supported. There are also a lot of Democrats waiting in the wings to join co-sponsorship, but they're doing a Noah's Ark approach where you got to have a Democrat and a Republican get on the boat at the same time because they don't want it to be heavily dominated by Democrats. So you King County libs, who are the Republicans in our congressional delegation in the state? Think about that. Took me a minute. McMorris Rogers and Newhouse. They are not currently co-sponsors. So one thing you can do is get your connections rolling to get those two as co-sponsors. If those two were co-sponsors, there would be two Democrats that would jump on. And so that would be an increase of 4 co-sponsors, which would be great. The other thing that's happening is there is a sign-on letter from mayors and local leaders. I believe that deadline was extended. Is that right, Patience? Do you know?
It's wrapped up now, and we got 184 leaders across the nation and about 20 from Washington State.
Yeah, okay. So I was hoping that was still open, but that's been closed. So there was an effort to get all of our local leaders signed on. And then the last thing is I will put in the chat what I think is a great resource for tracking this and figuring out how you can advocate further for the Credit Improvement Act. Last thing I'll say is it is a financial impact bill, so it has to be passed as a part of a budget or a tax bill. So it can't just show up and be passed. It has to go with the other budget or tax measures. And of course, our budget conversation is an absolute disaster right now. So I think our best hope is that it can pass at the end of the year as a part of year-end tax measures. But we shall see. That's it.
Thanks, Brian. This has been on our support agenda for a few years now. It's a little bit of a frustrating exercise in frustration because we don't have a ton of federal sway as HDC, but it is really one of the big potential ways to really unlock funding for affordable housing across the nation. Let's move over now to Michael Syrath. Can talk a bit more, flesh out some more of the discussion around the Affordable Housing Stabilization Fund and how that has been shaped today. And I see we are losing some people from the 1 o'clock. Just quick reminder, if you could fill out the vote before you leave.
Thank you, Jesse. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Syrath, Director of SEED, and here to talk about the Affordable Housing Stabilization Fund. This kind of builds on some earlier conversations around what we can do to support the nonprofits that provide the affordable housing that so many of our neighbors live in. How we keep them strong, which really elevates resident well-being. Due to the rent loss, the project delays and soaring costs, so many of our beloved Washington State affordable housing providers are facing really big challenges around continuing to provide quality, affordable housing to our residents and create more of the housing we sorely need. So this is an idea that started really around, could there be a state or city level solution of funding of stabilization to help these organizations? So it's the idea of bringing in more resources, both with that short-term crisis impact that they've been feeling, and bringing in resources to stabilize the buildings, help pay for staff, and provide the services residents need at a time when we've gone from serving even more and more challenging populations. One thing I say sometimes is the building looks the same as it did 15, 20 years ago, but who we're serving has changed radically. So it's more people in need of services, more people in need of support. Yet we have the same kind of tax credit financing structure at a time when costs are going up. So this is investing in these vital nonprofits statewide, so we can continue to focus on the well-being of residents in affordable buildings. And I'm not on camera, Jesse, so which is fine with me, but just so you know, as far as I can tell. But that's kind of the overview. It really started organically with some of the nonprofit housing providers, and we're looking to take it more statewide, and talking to more and more operators that are outside the King County that are also facing some of these huge challenges around rent collection and serving their residents well.
Thanks, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move over now to Ryan Donahue and Kathleen Hosfeld, who can talk about some of the support agenda items related to affordable home ownership.
Searching for that mute button. Sorry about that. It's never a Zoom meeting if you're not trying to speak while muted. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Donahue. I'm the Chief Advocacy Officer here over at Habitat for Humanity, Seattle, King, and Kittitas counties. I'm also lucky enough to be one of the two co-chairs of the PAG, or the Policy Advisory Group, here at HDC. So nice to meet you all, and thank you for participating in this today. And I hope that you plan on saying yes to this. So just to kind of go through a little bit on this piece of it, obviously, I think a lot of what we're going to be really doing is pushing for reforms to allow jurisdictions to increase flexibility in order to allocate affordable housing funding, and really just kind of affordable housing, affordable home ownership, as well as operation, maintenance, and services needs. Essentially, the biggest thing in there, the big thing to kind of note when it comes to that is making sure that when we as a state are investing in affordable housing, we're investing in the entire continuum of affordable housing, not just one small specific pocket or another. We want to make sure that we're investing in the whole thing so we can help address some of the bottlenecks that we've seen and make sure that we're investing across the board. That's the biggest, or that's the thing that I know I wanted to make sure to mention, and I'm going to hand it off to Kathleen to go over some other stuff that we're talking about.
Great, thanks, Ryan. Kathleen Hosfeld, I'm the CEO and Executive Director at Homestead Community Land Trust, and we are focused on affordable home ownership, permanently affordable home ownership. And there's a couple of things on the support agenda that we wanted to talk about. In addition to just piling on to what Ryan was saying, you know, home ownership hasn't necessarily had a prominent place in the affordable housing spectrum. It's gratifying that under the leadership of Patience, it is getting a more prominent role in HDC's advocacy efforts. So we're super grateful for that. And in light of all the changes that have occurred since the COVID era, the racial reckoning, we've recognized that, you know, in addition to the need for affordable housing to address this income segment, we're also have a duty to close the racial homeownership gap as well. So that is also an important part of the work here. Two things that I was asked to speak to. One is that we're supporting efforts to establish a new revolving construction loan for affordable homeownership. Interestingly, for those of us who build, as we get to scale, the number of traditional banks that know about how to do construction financing for affordable homeownership are very limited and have, you know, capacity that limits of their own. So we are seeking to establish more construction loan financing alternatives to keep up with the scale of construction that is starting to occur here in our region, but also across the state. And we're also looking to address another legacy issue of kind of the ways that folks used to think about homeownership. They used to think about it in terms of small projects of, you know, 5 to 10 homes at a time. You know, we are now building at the scale of 30 and 50 homes at a time. And the total funding allowed for us within the county and at the state level isn't keeping pace with that. So we need to be advocating for more funds overall, but also higher limits on the per home caps, following the great example of the city of Seattle and the levy funds. We are really grateful to work in the city of Seattle where there is a levy, and the folks that run it really understand what it takes to build these homeownership units, and they've structured their policies and their funding limits accordingly. So thank you. Let's pass the levy. Yeah, so that's all I got. Ryan, did you have more that you were going to do? Or, okay, great. Jesse, back to you.
Thanks. Always great to hear about the homeownership space. Let's move over now to David Reddy to speak a bit more about the exemplary buildings program retrofits at a high level. David, you ready?
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Excuse me, the exemplary buildings program has been kind of moving along. We are meeting, the task force is meeting once a month, mainly to track the demonstration projects that were funded and supported in the outstart of the exemplary buildings program, with the goal of sharing lessons learned and tracking data that we can gather important and share as it comes in. We're also meeting to provide technical input on various policies and initiatives such as the 2021 Seattle Energy Code and the Decarbonize Affordable Housing Now initiative. And then also one other area that we've been working actively in is the supporting the development of the Seattle Building Performance Standard, Building Emissions Performance Standard. That included auditing existing affordable housing developments to kind of inform the challenges that we'll encounter in meeting new emission standards, and in analyzing benchmark data to also inform the targets, and advocating to ensure that the timing of when affordable housing developments will need to meet emission standards is aligned with when they are planning to make other capital investments. So a wide range of technical and various advocacy support continues to happen at the Exemplary Buildings program, and we look forward to continuing to support HDC on their initiatives.
Thanks, David. Patience, do you have anything you want to add into this before we shift into general member discussion?
No, I think this has been a great discussion. I hope the membership gets a sense of the wide range strategies that are included in the advocacy agenda, and you can all lean in sectors that are relevant to you in collaboration with fellow members here at HDC.
And then we've got a few just general closing strategic questions for you all to consider before you have a final vote on the adoption of the advocacy agenda. So generally, looking across our advocacy agenda for 2024, what strategic opportunities do you identify as particularly promising? And then in terms of implementation, what information, abilities, connections do you either personally or as a member in an organization bring that can help HDC advance our collective advocacy agenda? Grace, maybe you want to, I don't know, kick off and lead just for a moment while people get there.
I don't know if I have anything to lead. I was going to invite people into the conversation by either typing into the chat or to just raise your hand and speak up, or not raise your hand, just speak out. Any form.
And as they do that, Jesse, I can chime in and say that beyond the comprehensive plan major decision in 2024, the work ahead of us on revenue across the region is work that will take a long time to build a foundation of and bring partners together. So just putting that as a proactive plan for all of us as a sector, particularly some of the conversations that will begin in East King County with some of the coalition work we've been doing, and then some partnerships coming out of South King County, as well as building on the Seattle Housing Levy passage, knock on wood, in getting that over the finish line. So it's a significant opportunity that we're seeing, and we know it's going to take us more than 2-3 years to get a revenue source idea off the ground and onto a ballot. I don't know, Jesse, if you want to add some color on some of that work and invite some of the coalition partners in East King County to put a plug here.
Sure. Yeah, just checking through who we've got on the line. There's someone who's been particularly engaged in the conversation to date. I guess similar to building on what I said earlier, like the the conversations around sub-regional housing levies or other fund sources been going on in a somewhat disjointed way for quite a while. And so this is a real attempt to have HDC recenter and focus on moving it forward in a steady way as we look past the Seattle housing levy. Lisa?
I recognize that this is kind of controversial, so, reminder to all, I work in asset management, so I'm dealing with the investors all the time. I feel very disconnected as a industry from the legislation that's being passed, particularly by the city council as it relates to tenant rights. It often feels like us affordable housing agencies are being thrown in the mix with market rate developers who are, more cutthroat and so on and so forth. And I feel like there's room, I'm hoping that there's room to have more direct conversations, perhaps with the HDC's support, with our city council members, not just in the city of Seattle, but across the region, so that they understand more of the impact of their legislation on the organizations that are sort of on the other side of things. I think affordable housing groups are one of the most robust supporters of tenant rights and really want to focus, eviction is not our goal, but at the same time, looking at the losses and understanding the difficulties that we're facing, moving folks through the court system who can't pay, won't pay, it's a mix of it all. It's overwhelming and it's catastrophic. And I'm not sure that the support from the state legislature is going to come in time to help the current struggles. And there's just this disconnect. I hope we can find a venue for more conversation.
So Lisa, you're not alone in elevating this issue. I think we've heard from a number of housing providers, and as HDC, we've worked towards a position that really starts off with supporting the concept of housing stability, because that's really our business as a collective association in providing housing for people and making sure they get on a path of stability. But in terms of the impact of these policies, we've been in conversations here locally in Seattle with the Office of Housing. We're anticipating there may be some audits on policies themselves in terms of operational impact, but we really lead with a position of we want to support the concept and then think about how it does impact operations ultimately. So it's an intentional approach, and thank you for elevating it. I know the AMPM continues to dive deep into this work, and we are here collectively as a resource and community to think about how we proceed.
Thank you. We'll take all of the support and cooperation we can get.
Thank you.
And it is really engaging with policy advisory group at this point, so that you can know that you're not the one person trying to push on something. I think the benefit and the strength of HDC is that we're a member organization. And so when we come together as a group of, I can't even remember how many members we're at, 200 plus, to say this is an important thing for our industry, there's more voice with that. So Lisa, I would encourage you to engage with, and maybe you already are, but for other folks to engage with the policy advisory group, because that's the first place in which to air these things and sort of figure out the path forward for everybody.
Maybe I'm missing it, but if there could be some communication from HDC about the policy advisory group so that it's right up there on top, so that I and others are aware of how we can engage with this group. I'm hesitant to participate on some level because I live in Federal Way. I don't have a lot of local legislatures that I have contacts with, but I think I have a lot to add and I would be grateful to participate.
Yeah, and I would add, Lisa, as a chair of an affinity group, you have the ability to summarize some of these issues and channel them through PAG. Jesse is our staff point person to help facilitate that as well.
I This is Angel with WCRA. I would also be interested in participating on some of that, even from a lender perspective. You know, the all of those effects trickle down to us as well, and how we evaluate loans in our portfolio. And so we're always looking to figure out ways that we can support our borrowers. So,
Thank you. Well, I think with that, Grace, we're right at the end of this discussion. And Jesse, if you have any words to wrap us up, you can go ahead, but we're pivoting over to a vote. We know the work that's ahead of us is significant, and we need to be taking off the ground, implementing, and I know the policy advisory group will be meeting on the 25th to begin to think about implementation. So Grace, over to you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for such robust engagement around this conversation. I feel like advocacy is one of the most important things that we do, and there's been times where the conversation or the agenda items take over, and so advocacy doesn't get to have the moment in the spotlight. But thank you all for engaging, and thank you, Jesse, for laying out the groundwork for us to engage in that conversation. Paige just dropped into the chat the voting survey, so remember that we are asking you to vote on a number of things: the June meeting minutes, the incoming members, and we do need you to vote on the new members, even though we are sort of preemptively welcoming them into the community. We do need your vote on that to bring those 3 new members in, and then the advocacy agenda. Do I need to really get a motion and then a second to vote? Help me out here, Lauren and Patience. No? They're just voting via the link, right? Okay, great. So so there's the link. Please, hopefully everyone can get to the QR code and get to the voting link, but there's also, it's in the chat, so you can just click on it. Take a minute to do that. Our next member meeting will be, as stated earlier, on Wednesday, December 6th. It will be an in-person event. There will be an announcement sent out. And if you want to just flag it in your calendar now with a reminder, like 2 weeks in advance, if you don't see something, you can reach out to Lauren at the HDC staff to find out where and make sure that you didn't miss the invitation. And if you're interested in looking at any of the presentations, they'll be emailed to you after this event. There was that link at the beginning. If you scroll up to the top of the chat, you'll find the link with the member packet. That won't have the presentations though, so if you want that specifically, ask that if you don't get it after tomorrow. And then I will take any member announcements if there are any, or you can drop them into the chat. And then for the rest of the folks, I hope to see some of you at the Housing Washington events and at the November 2nd Rothstein event. And the Rothstein event, I believe, is a free event. You just need to register in advance. So definitely come. It's a very tactical, it's not going to be just a talking at you event. They're going to be sharing actual tactical strategies for you to implement right away.
Thank you, Grace. One quick process clarification I've received is I think typically we've taken a motion from members as we vote on the advocacy agenda.
Okay, so we do need a motion. So if I could get a motion in a second to adopt the advocacy agenda, we're not going to vote in person. That voting happens on the paper, but we do need an open motion.
I move.
Thank you, Sai. And that was Angel, I think that was second. Thank you. Great.
Awesome.
Okay. We'll leave the meeting open for a couple minutes if people want to share any announcements or drop them into the chat. Otherwise, we will see you at the next event.
We will see you at the next phone bank and Housing Washington.
Yes, it's not too late to do a phone bank.
Yep.
They all left as quickly as they came in.
Thanks, Patience and Lauren and the rest of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
Bye.